Mariana's alarm pierced the silence at 4:30 a.m., signaling the start of yet another day spent balancing two jobs. She pulled herself out of bed in her small studio apartment, the spring chill creeping through the inadequately insulated walls. The coffee maker sputtered into action, her sole indulgence from the thrift store, as she slipped into her waitress uniform. At 5:15, she was arranging tables at Jerry's Diner, where she worked in the mornings. The usual crowd filtered in, a mix of truck drivers, early shift workers, and the sporadic insomniac. The tips were satisfactory, yet just shy of being sufficient to cover rent and utilities. Once her shift wrapped up at 2 p.m., she would make her way to the nearby grocery store to arrange shelves until 10 p.m. 3 blocks away, in the esteemed Gold Coast neighborhood, Alexander Vaughn was already alert in his penthouse suite. He lingered by the expansive windows, observing the bustling city beneath him, cradling a cup of imported coffee crafted with care. His assistant recited his agenda for the day: strategic discussions, financial assessments, philanthropic events. Alexander hardly paid attention. 2 years had gone by since Claire vanished with their newborn daughter, leaving behind only a mysterious note about beginning anew. The authorities had uncovered no leads. Their private investigators had yielded no results. Yet, he remained haunted by the conviction that his daughter was out there in Chicago. That evening, as Mariana navigated through Lincoln Park on her way home, weary from her double shift, she heard it. A gentle whimper emanating from behind a bench. She nearly moved on, yet an unseen force compelled her to pause. There, nestled within a tattered blanket, rested a baby girl, scarcely a few months old. Mariana's heart raced as she cradled the infant in her arms. The infant's garments bore a hefty price tag, adorned with labels she had only glimpsed in glossy magazine advertisements, yet they were stained and tattered. A delicate bracelet hung from the slender wrist, etched with what appeared to be the start of a name. The infant blinked awake and grasped Mariana's finger with an unexpected vigor. At that instant, their paths converged in ways they could never have foreseen. As Mariana reached for her phone to dial the police, she caught sight of a black SUV with tinted windows cruising by the park for the third time. She cradled the baby tighter, an unsettling intuition whispering that something was amiss. The same instinct to shield and nurture that compelled her to offer complimentary meals to starving children at the diner surged within her. Though the reasons eluded her, she felt an undeniable pull to assist this child, sensing that this moment held the power to transform everything. 2 months had gone by since that pivotal night in Lincoln Park. Mariana occupied a stark waiting room at the Department of Child Services, her fingers nervously toying with a well-used manila envelope that held her adoption application. Miss Santos, with her serious demeanor, summoned her name. "Kindly step inside." In the small, cluttered office, Mrs. Reynolds carefully adjusted her glasses as she examined Mariana's file. Juggling 2 jobs, residing in a cozy studio apartment, and navigating life in Chicago without immediate family around. What leads you to believe you have the ability to care for a child? Mariana aligned her posture. "I might not have wealth, but I can offer Sophie love, stability, and a home," Mariana said, her voice trembling just a bit. The uncertainty ate away at her. Did she truly measure up to Sophie's expectations? Was she capable of offering the chances that Sophie rightfully earned? Yet she straightened her spine, urging herself to trust in her own declarations. Sophie was deserving of the struggle, even when Mariana's assurance occasionally wavered. "I have made arrangements for child care with my neighbor, Mrs. Chun. She has stepped away from her teaching career." Sophie, Mrs. Reynolds arched an eyebrow. "You've given her a name." That was the implication of her bracelet. It bore the inscription "So." I believed Sophie was a perfect match for her. The social worker's expression eased just a bit. "Miss Santos, I recognize that you've developed a bond, but there are numerous capable couples eager to adopt, couples who possess the necessary resources and suitable homes. I've managed to set aside enough for a down payment on a 1-bedroom apartment," Mariana interjected. "I am currently enrolled in online courses focused on medical billing. In 6 months, I will secure a more lucrative position that offers benefits." Mrs. Reynolds observed her intently for an extended moment. The date for the court proceedings has been scheduled for the upcoming month. For the time being, Sophie will continue to stay in foster care. I recommend that you take a moment to reflect on whether this is the best direction for both of you. As Mariana strolled home that evening, she found herself passing by an upscale car dealership. Through the window, she caught sight of a man clad in a lavish suit, scrutinizing a car that was worth more than her entire decade's earnings. Their eyes connected for a fleeting moment in the reflection, yet she swiftly averted her gaze, her thoughts racing ahead to strategize her next step in the battle for Sophie. The judge's gavel fell, echoing the weight of the decision made. Adoption approved. Those two words transformed everything. Mariana brushed away her tears, embracing Sophie, who was now officially her daughter. After 9 months filled with legal struggles, extended hours, and restless nights, they had finally become a family. Their new one-bedroom apartment may have been modest, but to Mariana, it felt like a slice of heaven. She had adorned Sophie's corner of the bedroom with a gentle shade of yellow, suspending paper butterflies from the ceiling that fluttered gracefully in the breeze. A lovingly restored second-hand crib, polished to perfection with care and sandpaper, stood beneath them. "Look, Sophie," Mariana whispered, gently guiding her daughter's gaze toward the window. "That is the area we call home. It may not be extravagant, but it is brimming with wonderful individuals." Mr. Rodriguez was diligently sweeping his storefront, while Mrs. Chun greeted him with a wave from her balcony, where she tended to her herbs in an array of mismatched pots. Mariana fulfilled her commitment regarding the medical billing courses. Her new position at Lincoln Park Hospital offered a better salary than her previous waitressing job, yet she continued to take on weekend shifts at Jerry's Diner. The loyal patrons adored Sophie, discreetly tucking additional tips into Mariana's apron while exchanging knowing glances. For the college fund, they would say, filling Mariana's heart with gratitude. Their routine found a soothing cadence. As dawn broke, the sound of Sophie's cheerful babbling filled the air from her crib, while Mariana busied herself in the kitchen, crafting a warm breakfast. Mrs. Chun would care for Sophie while Mariana worked her day shift, enchanting the baby with Chinese nursery rhymes and the delightful aroma of dumplings. Evenings held a unique charm for them. Mariana would settle into their second-hand rocking chair, with Sophie nestled in her lap, immersed in tales from well-loved library books. Occasionally, she would share with Sophie the story of the night they discovered one another, skillfully leaving out the enigmatic SUV and the lavish attire the infant had donned. The shadows of those details lingered at the periphery of Mariana's mind, yet she set them aside, choosing to immerse herself in the joy of the moment. "Mother." On a typical Tuesday evening, Sophie uttered her first word. Mariana was in the midst of folding laundry when the sound reached her ears, sharp and unmistakable. She let the sheets fall and lifted her daughter into her arms, twirling around their cozy living room as Sophie laughed and called out, "Mama, Mother." As the night deepened and Sophie drifted into slumber, Mariana found herself by the window, gazing at the twinkling city lights. She reflected on the journey they had undertaken, considering the challenges that still awaited them. Sophie would eventually begin to inquire about her birth parents. The burden of that impending dialogue weighed heavily on Mariana's heart, yet she was certain they would confront it side by side. At this moment, she felt a sense of satisfaction. Their small family was flourishing in its unique manner. They possessed ample nourishment, shelter above them, and an abundance of affection that surpassed what any grand estate could contain. Mariana brushed her fingers over the aged bracelet nestled in her jewelry box, the very piece Sophie had adorned that evening in the park. At times, she found herself pondering the tale behind it, the thread that had led to the choice of Sophie's name. Yet, those inquiries could wait for a different time. Tomorrow would present its own hurdles. Yet tonight, in their snug apartment adorned with thrifted furnishings and genuine affection, all was just right. Sophie's second birthday celebration was simple yet filled with happiness. Colorful balloons from the dollar store filled their modest apartment with cheer, while a lovingly crafted cake took center stage on the well-worn coffee table. Mrs. Chun truly excelled with her exquisite paper decorations, while Mr. Rodriguez added a delightful piñata in the shape of Sophie's beloved cartoon character. The gathering was reaching its conclusion when the knock echoed through the room. 3 crisp knocks that resonated with a sense of luxury, reminiscent of Italian leather meeting polished wood. Mariana swung the door open, revealing a tall man clad in a tailored suit, his presence commanding the narrow hallway. "Miss Santos?" His voice exuded refinement and composure. "My name is Alexander Vaughn. May I enter?" Mariana paused, her gaze instinctively drifting back to Sophie, who was joyfully mashing cake into her face while Mrs. Chan observed with a watchful eye. He spoke softly, lifting a leather briefcase as he mentioned Sophie. The name fell heavily, sinking deep into Mariana's gut. She remembered him now, the man from the car dealership that day, the face she sometimes spotted in business magazines while waiting at the hospital. Alexander Vaughn, the head of Vaughn Industries. "Mrs. Chun," Mariana said, maintaining a calm tone. "Would you mind bringing Sophie to your place for a bit? She could use a good bath after all." Once they departed, Alexander perched awkwardly on her tattered couch, appearing strangely mismatched amidst the festive birthday adornments. He retrieved a folder brimming with papers, images, and what appeared to be police reports. "It was 2 years ago when he started. My wife vanished along with our newborn daughter. She vanished without a sign, save for—" He paused, taking something from his pocket, leaving only the matching bracelet to this one behind. Mariana felt a chill wash over her as he presented a silver bracelet, a perfect match to the one nestled in her jeweler box, yet marked with the letters FI etched into it. He went on, expressing that his search had been ongoing ever since. Private detectives, law enforcement, anyone who could assist. Recently, an investigator shared with me some security footage from Lincoln Park, recorded on the night you discovered Sophie. It was the very night my daughter vanished. Mariana clutched the edge of her chair, her knuckles pale and tense. "Sophie is my daughter. I have legally adopted her, and I possess the necessary documentation. I'm not here to intimidate you, Miss Santos," Alexander interjected gently. "I am here because I am convinced that Sophie is my biological daughter, and I deserve to know her." Mariana felt a constriction in her chest. She reflected on the countless moments she had pondered Sophie's beginnings, the inquiries she had concealed to safeguard their delicate joy. Yet, confronted by this man who exuded confidence tinged with urgency, her instincts urged her to safeguard her daughter. "You can't just appear here and assume I'll trust you," she said, her voice edged with anxiety. "She is my daughter now. You can't just waltz in and throw everything into chaos. Is that the case with her?" Alexander's calm demeanor faltered just a bit. "Is she content?" Mariana gazed at the remnants of cake on the coffee table, at the simple gifts wrapped in newspaper, at the paper butterflies that Sophie adored, fluttering in the gentle breeze from their old air conditioner. "She's the most joyful child I've ever encountered," she replied honestly, her voice almost a murmur. Alexander nodded slowly, his gaze lingering on a photograph of Sophie affixed to the wall. "There is a great deal we need to talk about, Miss Santos, a great deal indeed." As the night deepened, with Sophie remaining at Mrs. Chen's apartment, Alexander began to reveal his tale. The leather briefcase unfolded to disclose a tapestry of years filled with heartache, captured in police reports, private investigator notes, and faded photographs. "Claire and I had been married for 5 years," he started, carefully adjusting the crease in his immaculate trousers. "The journey through pregnancy was challenging, yet the moment Sophie entered the world, his voice faltered with emotion. She was simply exquisite. We chose the name Sophie Elizabeth Vaughn for her." He retrieved a hospital photo, showcasing a newborn with Claire's golden hair and his deep, dark eyes. Mariana's heart raced. She had gazed into those familiar eyes every day for 2 years. 3 days after we welcomed her into our lives, I found myself in a late meeting. Upon my return, the carefully maintained facade of Alexander began to fracture. The nursery stood silent, devoid of life. Claire had taken Sophie, our passports, and a bit of cash. She departed with nothing but a note, expressing the need for a new beginning, free from the weight of the Vaughn legacy. Mariana observed him fidgeting with the wedding band on his finger, a nervous habit he appeared oblivious to. Have you managed to locate Claire? Half a year prior, he nodded with a somber expression. She found herself in Vancouver, yet Sophie was absent. After Sophie's arrival, she found herself engulfed in a profound sadness, burdened by the demands of motherhood and the weight of the Vaughn legacy. In a state of fragility and longing, she fell victim to those who exploited her deep-seated fear that Sophie might face the same harsh, unfeeling surroundings she had known in her own youth. They persuaded her that letting Sophie go was a demonstration of love. Everything began to align perfectly. The lavish infant attire, the enigmatic SUV, the gleaming silver bracelet. Mariana felt a wave of nausea wash over her at the thought of baby Sophie being passed around like an unwanted parcel. Claire is currently in a rehabilitation facility, Alexander continued. The individuals she associated with were linked to a network that... He paused, running a hand through his meticulously arranged hair. The investigation by the police is ongoing. However, when my investigator presented the footage of you discovering Sophie in the park, everything fell into place. The timing, the location, and even the outfit she wore in the last photo I had of her. Mariana rose suddenly, making her way to the cozy kitchen. She craved freedom, sought breath. Care for a cup of coffee? She inquired, her hands trembling as she extended towards the mugs. Please, Alexander replied, his gaze tracking her every movement. Miss Santos, Mariana, I wish to express my gratitude to you. As I explored boardrooms and distant lands, you remained here, cherishing her and keeping her safe. The coffee maker emitted a soft gurgle, breaking the stillness that enveloped them. Mariana gazed at the chipped mug in her hand, the very one Sophie had adorned with finger paints during her time at daycare. What comes next? She finally inquired. Alexander took the coffee she offered, the gleam of his luxurious watch reflecting the soft glow of the kitchen light. That is somewhat contingent upon your actions. I have no intention of causing Sophie any distress or disrupting the only stable environment she has ever known. Yet she is my daughter, and I have already missed 2 years of her life. The gravity of those words lingered in the space between them, straddling his realm of luxury and surveillance, and her domain of thrifted decor and relentless work hours, caught in the tension between legality and morality. Mariana found herself wide awake that night. Sophie nestled close to her in their shared bed. Once Alexander departed, she collected her daughter from Mrs. Chun, who appeared to notice that something was amiss but chose not to inquire further. As Mariana listened to Sophie's calm breaths, her thoughts surged with unthinkable options. Alexander had left his business card, a sturdy piece of cardstock adorned with raised lettering that likely exceeded her weekly grocery budget. He requested some time to understand Sophie better, suggesting that he would move forward at the pace Mariana deemed appropriate. His words were flawless, rational, and deeply unsettling. Mother? Sophie stirred, her tiny hand reaching up to gently pat Mariana's cheek. Feeling down? No, darling, Mariana murmured, drawing her nearer. Mother is simply pondering. The following morning, she made the decision to call in sick to work, marking the first time in 2 years that she had done so. Instead, she led Sophie to their cherished place in Lincoln Park, close to the spot where they had first discovered one another. As Sophie pursued the pigeons, Mariana busily entered Alexander's name into her phone. The outcomes were astonishing. Business publications lauded his guidance of Vaughn Industries. The society pages chronicled his philanthropic endeavors. Articles surfaced regarding his wife and daughter who had been missing for 2 years, although Sophie's name remained confidential. Miss Santos? Mariana startled at the sound of Alexander's voice. He lingered a short distance off, appearing a bit more casual in his weekend attire, which likely still exceeded her monthly rent in value. I hope you don't mind, he said, motioning towards a bench close by. I had a feeling you would show up here. Sophie darted back to Mariana, timidly seeking refuge behind her legs at the sight of the unfamiliar figure. Alexander's breath hitched sharply. Care to take a seat? Mariana made the offer, catching herself off guard. Sophie, would you like to demonstrate to this kind gentleman how you feed the birds? They observed Sophie as she meticulously scattered breadcrumbs, bestowing a name upon each pigeon. Alexander's hands clutched his knees, knuckles pale from the effort to hold back. "Text, my lawyer prepared some documents," he finally said, pulling an envelope from his jacket. "Co-parenting agreements, monetary assistance, all formal and transparent." Mariana chose not to accept the envelope. "What makes you trustworthy? How can I be sure you won't attempt to take her away entirely?" "I've noticed the way she gazes at you," Alexander said gently. "After 2 years of envisioning my daughter in solitude and fear, I discovered her to be joyful and cherished. I will not bring harm to that." Sophie seized that moment to dash back, beaming as she displayed a feather she discovered, while both adults instinctively reached out to ensure she didn't stumble on the uneven terrain. "I'm not seeking a response today," Alexander remarked, observing Sophie as she turned back to her birds. "But I wish to be included in her life, to understand her better. Perhaps we could begin with supervised visits." Mariana gazed at her daughter, then turned her eyes to the man who bore her genetic likeness. After 2 years of seeking answers about Sophie's past, the truth may finally be within reach. But what sacrifices will it demand? "I need some time," she said at last, "and I need to understand more about what transpired." All was well, as Alexander nodded, a look of relief spreading across his features. "Absolutely. I'm here to assist you with anything you require." In the midst of it all, unaware of the significance surrounding her, Sophie persisted in naming her pigeons, her joyful laughter echoing throughout the park. The initial gathering took place at a venue designed for children's play. Mariana selected it with great consideration, a place of neutrality surrounded by numerous observers. Alexander showed up ahead of time, clutching a tiny stuffed elephant that Sophie instantly adored. Sophie declared, hugging the toy, "Her name is Ellie." Alexander appeared on the verge of tears. In the weeks that followed, a meticulous routine took shape, even as Sophie continued to exhibit her shyness during the initial visits. She would hold onto Mariana, casting fleeting glances at Alexander with a hint of curiosity. Only when he introduced a stuffed elephant named Ellie did Sophie start to open up to him. Gradually, she let him participate in her games, and one day, after an especially enjoyable visit to the zoo, she affectionately called him Papa. At the zoo, Sophie's enthusiasm for the penguins brought laughter to the adults around her. They explored the children's museum, where Alexander demonstrated an unexpected talent for engaging in Sophie's imaginative games. Elevate. Sophie let out a joyful squeal one afternoon at the park while Alexander gave her a gentle push on the swings. Mariana observed from a nearby bench, taking in the effortless harmony they shared. Sophie possessed the same smile as Alexander, her eyes crinkling in a familiar manner when she focused intently. Following each visit, Alexander expressed his gratitude to Mariana with a formal acknowledgement, upholding the deliberate distance she had set between them. Yet, she noticed the anguish reflected in his gaze at the moment of parting, the way his fingers would fidget as if battling the desire to cling to Sophie just a little longer. One evening, while splashing in the tub, Sophie turned to Mama and asked, "Why does Mr. Alex look so sad?" Mariana took a moment to pause as she worked through Sophie's hair with shampoo. "What leads you to believe he's feeling down?" "He often gazes at images similar to this." Sophie wore a dramatically nostalgic look that might have elicited laughter in another context. Once the night settled and Sophie drifted into slumber, Mariana carefully retrieved the envelope filled with legal documents that Alexander had entrusted to her. She had been steering clear of them, fearful of the reality they might conjure up through her reading. Yet Sophie's observation lingered in her mind. The documents turned out to be unexpectedly straightforward. Joint custody arrangement with Mariana maintaining primary care, ample financial support for Sophie's education and well-being, without any indication of relocating Sophie to his residence or altering her established routine. He had even added a provision safeguarding Mariana's adoption rights. The following day, as they made their way to the aquarium, Mariana observed with heightened attention. She observed how Alexander maintained a respectful distance, clearly cherishing each moment. He captured Sophie's joy at the jellyfish with his phone, yet sought Mariana's consent before snapping any pictures. "She has your eyes?" Mariana said softly, as they observed Sophie pressing her nose against the glass of the dolphin tank. Alexander began, then offered a wistful smile. "Yet she possesses your heart, your compassion," he faltered. "Mariana, I want to inform you that I have consulted with my legal team regarding the individuals involved in taking her from Claire. We're on the verge of uncovering every last one." Mariana experienced an unsettling chill, even within the warm embrace of the aquarium's atmosphere. "Is Sophie at risk?" "No," Alexander's voice was unyielding. "I have taken care to ensure that. However, I felt it was important for you to be aware. You are her mother in every sense that counts. You have the right to be fully informed." Before Mariana had a chance to reply, Sophie dashed back to them, overflowing with enthusiasm about the dolphins. As she clasped their hands, excitedly discussing her desire for a pet dolphin, Mariana locked eyes with Alexander. For the first time, she perceived not a danger to her family, but rather an individual who could potentially integrate into it. The results of the DNA test came in on a Tuesday morning. Mariana accepted the envelope with quivering hands, as Sophie slept peacefully upstairs. She called Alexander, who arrived within 20 minutes, his typically composed demeanor revealing hints of anxiety. They lingered at Mariana's modest kitchen table, the unopened envelope resting between them, crackling with unspoken tension. Silence enveloped them as Alexander meticulously shattered the seal and extracted the documents. With a voice that carried a gravelly edge, he read, 99.99% probability. She is my daughter. Mariana had anticipated this moment, yet the reality of it struck her with unexpected force. Alexander handed her the results, then retrieved another folder from his briefcase. "There's more," he stated with a somber expression. "Last night, arrests were made by the police. The individuals who took Sophie from Claire were involved in a global network of adoption trafficking." The words lingered in the atmosphere, heavy and toxic. Mariana was overcome by a wave of nausea. "Is there a problem with trafficking?" Alexander nodded, his fists tightened. They focused on affluent households, persuaded susceptible mothers that their children would thrive far from the detrimental effects of wealth. Claire was not the sole target. "What is the quantity?" Mariana murmured softly. "A multitude, perhaps even a myriad. Many of the children were placed with legitimate adoption agencies using falsified documents. The agencies were completely unaware." He hesitated, observing her expression intently. "That's the way Sophie found herself in that park." A moment of deep reflection struck someone in the ring. Mariana recalled the sleek black SUV and the lavish baby clothes. Alexander confirmed that the individual who abandoned her was attempting to rescue her. They placed her in a location they knew would ensure her swift discovery. A place of safety, his tone gentle. They couldn't have made a more perfect choice if they'd set out to do so. Sophie's voice drifted down from upstairs, summoning her mama. Mariana stood up instinctively, yet Alexander's following words halted her in her tracks. "Claire desires to meet her." Mariana pivoted abruptly. "No, she has finished her rehabilitation program. She is collaborating with the inquiry. She handed our daughter over to criminals," Mariana exclaimed, surprising herself with the fierce sense of ownership. Alexander rose as well, his fingers brushing through his hair. "I understand, truly, I do, but she's overwhelmed with remorse. The doctors say, Mama," Sophie reached out once more, her urgency growing. "Not at this moment," Mariana stated with conviction. "Sophie is still too young to grasp the concept. She's content. She's found her place. I won't jeopardize that." Alexander observed her intently for a prolonged moment, then gave a nod of understanding. "Indeed, you are absolutely correct." He collected his papers, carefully stowing them away. "I will have my legal team prepare restraining orders against Claire, just to be safe." Upon reaching the door, he paused and glanced back. "Thank you, Mariana, for safeguarding her, for cherishing her, for—" He waved his hands in frustration at the environment around them, at the world she had created for Sophie. Mariana nodded, her voice caught in the tightness of her throat. As she ascended the stairs to fetch Sophie, the sound of his car departing reached her ears. The revelation had emerged, yet rather than providing clarity, it only deepened the intricate uncertainties surrounding their future. The revelation of Sophie's origins loomed large for both Mariana and Alexander in the weeks that followed. During their scheduled visits, Mariana observed Alexander gazing at Sophie, his expression a blend of joy and anguish, particularly as she showcased her already formidable personality. He murmured one afternoon, observing Sophie as she meticulously arranged her crayons in a flawless rainbow order. "She gets that from Claire." Then he recoiled, as though the words had burst forth unbidden. Mariana grasped the turmoil he faced. Each revelation regarding Sophie's history deepened the intricacies of their circumstances. She lay awake at night, contemplating whether she could have done more to locate Sophie's family when she first discovered her. The logical side of her understood that she had fulfilled all legal obligations, yet guilt had a tendency to overshadow reason. "I ought to have searched more thoroughly," Alexander admitted during one of their usual coffee conversations after Sophie dozed off during a visit. "After Claire departed, my attention turned to the exclusive enclaves of upscale neighborhoods. I hadn't considered exploring public parks in working-class neighborhoods." "You couldn't have known," Mariana replied, unexpectedly reaching out to touch his arm. "No one among us could have anticipated." The inquiry by law enforcement persisted, revealing increasingly unsettling information. The illicit network had functioned for years, preying on affluent families spanning various nations. Every new revelation stirred up fresh waves of media attention, yet Alexander's lawyers successfully kept Sophie's name away from the spotlight. One morning, Mariana discovered journalists gathered outside her apartment building. They clamored for answers regarding the Von heir and the vanished infant. With a firm grip on Sophie, she hurried back indoors, her voice trembling as she called out for Alexander. He showed up in just a few minutes, accompanied by security personnel who swiftly secured the area. Apologies escaped his lips as he observed Sophie, blissfully engaged in her play, oblivious to the turmoil surrounding her. "This is precisely what I wish to avoid for her. What are our next steps?" Mariana inquired, glancing through her curtains at the photographers who remained outside. "I own a house in Lake Forest," Alexander suggested, a hint of hesitation in his voice. "Exclusive, secure neighborhood. Both you and Sophie would find safety there until things settle down." Mariana tensed. "I feel trapped in my job, in my life." He quickly assured her that it was just for a short time. "Naturally, I would compensate for any lost earnings." "Mariana, if you would be so kind. Staying here, I won't be able to keep you both safe." She glanced at Sophie, joyfully engaged with Ellie the elephant, then shifted her gaze to the reporters lurking nearby. She made her decision 2 weeks, only until the situation settled. Alexander felt an overwhelming sense of relief. "Thanks a lot. I will ensure that everything is organized by tonight." While gathering a handful of necessary belongings, Mariana endeavored to frame the experience as an exciting journey for Sophie. Yet within her, anxieties grew exponentially. Is 2 weeks sufficient? Would the press ever give them a moment's peace? And most concerningly, was this the initial move towards Sophie becoming entangled in Alexander's realm? A realm that Mariana doubted she could shield her from. "Are you all set for our getaway, darling?" she inquired of Sophie, who responded with an enthusiastic nod as she embraced Ellie. "Is Mr. Alex joining us as well?" Sophie inquired with a sense of optimism. The question lingered, a poignant reminder of the complexities that had woven themselves into the fabric of their lives. The Lake Forest residence revealed itself as an expansive estate nestled within meticulously maintained landscapes. Sophie's eyes widened in wonder as they passed through the gates, her face eagerly pressed against the car window. "What a grand castle!" she exclaimed, a spark of delight breaking through the adults' tension and bringing smiles to their faces. Mrs. Patterson, the housekeeper, guided them to their accommodations, a generous suite featuring adjoining bedrooms adorned in gentle shades of blue and cream. Sophie swiftly took possession of the window seat that offered a view of the garden, while Mariana struggled to manage the sense of being engulfed by the opulence around them. I trust it's to your liking, Alexander remarked, lingering in the doorway. I instructed the staff to ensure everything was child-proofed. The initial days seemed like an existence within a bubble. Sophie ventured into every nook of the house, enchanted by the playroom Alexander had quickly put together. Mariana observed her daughter thrive in the nurturing atmosphere, even as she sensed a growing disconnect within herself. One evening, she discovered Alexander immersed in his study, poring over security reports. He remarked, glancing up as she walked in, that the media's focus was starting to wane. However, there exists an additional issue. Claire's legal team has reached out to my representatives. Mariana's heart froze in that moment. What is it that she desires? To share in Sophie's journey. Alexander massaged his temples. She has successfully finished her rehabilitation program, and by law, she possesses certain rights. Rights? Mariana's voice elevated. She relinquished her rights the moment she entrusted our daughter to those criminals. The words linger between them once more, surprising yet unwithdrawn. I understand, Alexander replied gently. Trust me, I'm aware. However, the circumstances are intricate. Claire comes from a prominent family. They are advocating for harmony. Mariana settled into a leather chair, a wave of fatigue washing over her. Sophie has finally found her place. She feels a sense of joy. What strategies can we employ to challenge that? We won't, Alexander stated with conviction. You're absolutely correct in prioritizing her stability. I've observed the way she flourishes in your presence. How secure she feels. He hesitated, then softly continued. The depth of her affection for you. At that moment, Sophie's voice resonated through the hallway, summoning them both. Mama, Mr. Alex, take a look. In the playroom, she stood with a sense of accomplishment, admiring the tower she had constructed from colorful blocks. As she showcased its features, Mariana observed how Alexander maintained his distance, always mindful not to intrude. Later that night, after Sophie had drifted off, Mariana stood on the terrace, gazing at the distant city lights. Alexander approached her, extending a warm cup of tea. She confessed her fear, not only of Claire, but of everything surrounding this. She waved her hand toward the grand mansion that surrounded them. This realm, these anticipations. Is this truly what's best for Sophie? Alexander remained silent for an extended period. When I envisioned the moment of discovering my daughter, I never anticipated encountering someone who cherished her as deeply as I do. He pivoted to meet her gaze. I will protect that connection at all costs, Mariana. Neither Claire, nor my family, nor myself. The vow lingered in the evening atmosphere, earnest yet delicate, mirroring the intricacies of their entangled bond. Following an extended stay of 3 weeks in Lake Forest, which exceeded his initial plans, Alexander summoned his legal team for a meeting. They convened in his home office, as Sophie rested peacefully upstairs under the attentive care of Mrs. Patterson. Claire's family is intensifying their efforts, his lead attorney elaborated, as they laid out documents across the polished mahogany desk. They're warning us that they will reveal the story if we don't consent to supervised visitation. Mariana clutched the arms of her chair tightly. Coercion. It is viewed as a means of control, Alexander remarked with a somber tone. The Winters family has consistently demonstrated a knack for achieving their desires. He hesitated for a moment, then shifted his gaze to Mariana. That's precisely why I'd like to propose an idea. It's unique. The attorneys shared a brief look before discreetly stepping away. Once he found himself alone, Alexander started to pace the room, a habit Mariana had observed he exhibited when feeling anxious. In recent weeks, observing you and Sophie in this space, he began to speak, then hesitated. Your ability to maintain her routine and sense of security in this new environment is truly impressive. Alexander, Mariana inquired thoughtfully, what are you proposing? He inhaled deeply. Settle in for good, the two of you. The East Wing can be transformed into your very own private apartment. Sophie would enjoy the security of having both her parents together, and from a legal standpoint it would bolster our case against Claire. Mariana rose suddenly. Are both of her parents involved? Alexander, we are not. He responded swiftly, acknowledging the point. I'm not making a proposal, boss. This would be solely for Sophie's advantage. You would enjoy your freedom and have a place to call your own. I simply believe. He waved his hands in despair. Her face brightens when we are together. Have you not observed? Mariana had observed. She had observed the way Sophie flourished with both of them present. How just last week she had begun to call Alexander Papa, and how effortlessly their morning rituals had evolved. However, her profession, she remarked. My journey. If you wish, you could work from this location. Or travel. I would offer a vehicle. Anything you require. He moved in closer. Mariana, I urge you to think about it. Not solely for Sophie, but for the sake of security. The media might have stepped back, yet Claire's family. Halt, Mariana raised her hand. This is overwhelming. Excessively swift. She strolled to the window, observing the gardener sculpting the impeccably shaped hedges. This realm does not belong to me, Alexander. I feel out of place here. You belong with Sophie, he said gently. Sophie is meant to be with both of us. Just as she was about to reply, Sophie's voice echoed in the hallway, accompanied by the soft sound of Mrs. Patterson's shushing. They instinctively gravitated toward the door, pausing to exchange glances. Consider it, Alexander remarked. Take your time, there's no rush. Consider it for a moment. Mariana nodded, fully aware that her response would be a firm no. As she set out to pick up Sophie, a nagging doubt crept into her mind about whether she was making the right decision. The echo of Sophie's laughter resonating through the majestic hallways appeared to challenge her confidence. Back in their apartment, enveloped by the comforting sounds of their neighborhood, Mariana attempted to ease back into their previous routine. Yet Sophie persisted with her inquiries about the castle and Papa Alex, her lower lip quivering as Mariana tried to convey the necessity of returning home. One evening, as Mariana folded laundry on their well-loved couch, she stumbled upon one of Sophie's drawings from the mansion. A crayon creation depicting 3 stick figures, Mama, Papa, and Sophie, all standing before what appeared to be a grand house. Miss Papa, Sophie said softly, settling into Mariana's lap, along with Mrs. Patterson and Garden. Alexander honored their choice to go back home, keeping to the established visiting routine. Yet, Mariana could perceive the sorrow reflected in his eyes every time they had to part ways. He had become familiar with the routine of nightly tales and morning discussions. On their upcoming trip to the park, Mariana observed as Alexander propelled Sophie on the swings. He donned jeans and a casual sweater now, having realized that his suits drew too much attention in their neighborhood. Higher, Papa, Sophie squealed, and Alexander happily obliged, his face glowing with delight. As Sophie immersed herself in the sandbox, he took a seat beside Mariana on the bench. Claire's family organized a press conference, he remarked softly. They are portraying themselves as worried grandparents, being denied the opportunity to see their granddaughter. Mariana's body stiffened. They had shown no concern for her in the past. Absolutely not. With a heavy sigh, Alexander exhaled. They were concerned with their image, with the controversy surrounding Claire's behavior. Now they are attempting to reshape the story. They observed Sophie crafting a sandcastle, blissfully oblivious to the tempest gathering in the distance. Since returning home, she had been plagued by nightmares, often crying out for both of them in her slumber. Mariana spoke thoughtfully. I've been considering your offer. Alexander remained perfectly motionless, as though he feared shattering the tranquility of the moment. It's not about moving in, she clarified, but perhaps we should seek a compromise, something that provides Sophie with stability while not entirely disrupting our lives. What are your thoughts on this? A duplex is available for rent near the mansion. It's manageable within my budget with my new position, and it would simplify visits. Sophie might have the opportunity for her own room. She hesitated. Perhaps you could join us for dinner on occasion. Consistent meals, rather than merely planned gatherings. Alexander's expression became gentler. I would appreciate that, and I'm willing to assist with the rent. Absolutely not, Mariana stated with conviction. I must approach this in my own manner for Sophie, but equally for myself. He nodded, comprehension evident in his expression. Allow me to assist in different capacities. Enhanced security measures and improved educational institutions in the new community. While they explored various options, Sophie hurried over, her hands brimming with sand. Behold, a fortress for everyone. They gazed upon her creation, uneven and flawed, yet crafted with affection. It's possible that Mariana believed that was the foundation they were creating as well. Something unique yet powerful, molded by affection instead of societal pressures. The duplex emerged as an ideal solution. The expansive windows and modest backyard provided Sophie with a playful haven, all while preserving the cozy ambience reminiscent of their previous apartment. The neighborhood exuded a sense of tranquility and safety, and while Mariana would never confess it, the security system that Alexander had put in place provided her with a comforting peace of mind as she drifted off to sleep each night. Their new routine unfolded seamlessly. Alexander insisted on joining for dinner 3 times a week, showing up with groceries even though Mariana voiced her objections. As they prepared meals side by side, Sophie busily colored at the kitchen table, sharing stories about her day at the new preschool. One evening, while tidying up after dinner, Sophie delivered an announcement that brought them both to a standstill. "My family is unique," she proclaimed, showcasing a drawing she had created at school. 2 homes, overflowing with affection. The image depicted 2 structures, one unmistakably their duplex, while the other was a crude representation of Alexander's grand estate. 3 figures stood between them, their hands intertwined. "The teacher inquired about my family," Sophie went on, beaming with pride over her artwork. "I mentioned that I have a mama and papa who care for me deeply, even though papa resides in a castle." Alexander let the dish slip from his hands, sending it crashing to the floor. Mariana swiftly reached for the paper towels to clean up the mess, though her hands trembled with anxiety. "Indeed, my dear," Alexander replied, his voice thick with feeling. "Our affection for you runs deep." Sophie radiated joy as she looked at them, then danced away to engage with her toys, allowing her parents a moment to reflect on the experience. "She knows more than we realize," Mariana said gently, as she gathered the shattered fragments of the plate. Alexander nodded, his gaze lingering on Sophie as she walked away. "She embraces our arrangement without confusion or concern." They toiled in quietude for a brief spell, each ensnared in their own reflections. The melody of Sophie serenading her stuffed animals floated in from the living room. "The Winters family reached out once more," Alexander finally stated. They observed images of Sophie at the park, noting that she resembles Claire remarkably at that age. Mariana tensed. "What did you convey to them?" "Sophie possesses her own unique identity and life. She is neither a second chance for Claire, nor a mere accessory for their public persona." He took his time drying his hands. "I also conveyed that she has a mother willing to go to great lengths to ensure her safety." The compliments left Mariana feeling uneasy, but just as she was about to reply, Sophie's voice echoed from the living room. "Mother, father, gather around for a tale." She was discovered in her pajamas, holding tightly to her beloved book and Ellie the elephant. She gently patted the couch beside her, clearly inviting them both to settle in for some bedtime stories. As they nestled into their spots, with Sophie resting against both of them and Alexander starting to read, Mariana sensed a profound change had taken place. This transcended mere custody arrangements or legal rights. In an unexpected turn of events, they found themselves woven together as a family. Unique, indeed, yet genuine and substantial, making it truly ideal for Sophie. "Add more voices, Papa," Sophie directed, prompting Alexander to alter his tone for each character, while Mariana stifled her laughter. On a rainy Tuesday morning, an urgent meeting was convened by Alexander's legal team. The Winters family submitted a legal petition seeking grandparental rights, and whispers of their tale had caught the attention of several prominent news outlets. The Winters family presents themselves as caring grandparents, asserting that Sophie should benefit from their wealth and connections. The lead attorney explained that they have been sharing narratives with the media regarding their sorrow over Sophie's disappearance, portraying themselves as casualties of Claire's misguided choices. They are leveraging the dual residence arrangement to our disadvantage. Mariana was overcome by a wave of nausea. She had decided to take the morning off from her job for this meeting, leaving Sophie at preschool. How could they possibly say that? She is flourishing. It's a legal maneuver, Alexander stated, his voice laced with frustration. They realize their case lacks strength, so they're attempting to pressure us through negative publicity. The attorneys presented their alternatives, yet the discussion continually returned to a singular focus. The peculiar aspects of their custody arrangement might be leveraged against them in court. A lawyer suggested with caution that if you were part of a traditional family unit, your case would be considerably weaker. Alexander cast a cautionary glance at the man, yet Mariana grasped the underlying message. Their delicate equilibrium, the world they had crafted around Sophie's needs, could be shattered by those who lacked comprehension. Once the lawyers departed, Alexander and Mariana remained in quiet contemplation, the rain softly tapping on the windows of his study, echoing their melancholic atmosphere. I won't fight for full custody, Alexander said suddenly. Mariana glanced up, her expression one of surprise at that concern. I'm aware that you wouldn't. The reality is, he kept walking back and forth, you've fulfilled the role of Sophie's mother in every significant way. In her darkest moments, you were there, shielding her, cherishing her when she felt utterly alone. I refuse to allow anyone to jeopardize that. Not Claire, not her family, and certainly not the courts. He paused at his desk, lifting the framed photo of Sophie that resided there, a spontaneous capture of her laughter in their backyard. In a move that may catch you off guard, Alexander retrieved a legal document from his desk. I had this prepared last week just in case. This is an official statement transferring my primary custody rights to you. I came to understand that arguing about legal terminology wouldn't benefit Sophie. She requires a sense of stability, and you've provided that in ways I was unable to during those 2 years I lost. I will always stand by her side, but I want to make certain that no court or outsider can ever challenge your position as her mother. Mariana rose to her feet, taken aback. Alexander, please, Sophie requires your presence. She requires more stability. This approach ensures you have complete legal safeguards. I would still maintain my visitation rights, remain her father, but in a legal sense, he slid the papers across the table to her. Legally, you would stand firm, but your rights as her biological father pale in comparison to her joy. Alexander's voice carried a resolute strength. 2 years slipped away with her. You have been present each day since you discovered her. That holds greater significance than DNA. Mariana grasped the document with quivering hands. Do you really believe this is the right choice? I have never felt such certainty about anything. He offered a wistful smile. Moreover, there's a sense that nothing truly evolves. I will definitely join for dinner and continue to share bedtime stories. We will ensure that we have the necessary safeguards in place to prevent any outside interference. The rain outside started to let up. A rainbow graced the sky outside the window, an imperfect yet transient spectacle, radiating its own unique beauty. The day following Alexander's relinquishment of his primary custody rights, life unfolded in a manner reminiscent of the past, yet with nuanced changes that only the most observant would perceive. Alexander appeared to carry a newfound lightness, as though relinquishing legal control had, in an unexpected twist, granted him a deeper sense of tranquility. The Winters family's legal team was taken by surprise by the decision. Their request for grandparental rights dwindled in strength upon encountering Alexander's voluntary statement in favor of Mariana's custody. The media, hungry for drama, discovered scant material to exaggerate in their collaborative setup. Is Dad coming over for pancakes? Sophie inquired one Saturday morning. Is she already arranging her toy dishes? Indeed, my dear, Mariana replied, observing her daughter meticulously position each item with precision. And you won't believe this. He'll be bringing us to the zoo afterward. Their public outings had grown more manageable since the custody arrangement was officially established. Gone are the days of hushed rumors and furtive looks. They were just a family savoring their moments together. At the zoo, Sophie perched on Alexander's shoulders, her finger darting with enthusiasm at each creature she spotted. An elderly couple smiled at them, and for the first time, Mariana felt no urge to clarify their circumstances. Sophie insisted on ice cream after visiting her favorite penguin exhibit. What shall we express? The two adults replied together, sharing a moment of laughter over their harmonious approach to parenting. Seated on a bench, ice cream in hand and Sophie nestled between them, Alexander's voice was a soft murmur. Yesterday, Claire received a call from her family. They wished to express their regrets. Mariana tightened her muscles, yet maintained a calm tone. What was their response? The family court declaration came into view. They mentioned they were unaware. He lingered, observing as Sophie meticulously cleaned the ice cream from her chin. They were unaware of the depth of consideration we had devoted to determining what would be best for her. What about Claire? Continuing with therapy. She offers her blessing, however meaningful it may be. Alexander offered a sardonic smile. It appears that relinquishing control was the best decision for us both. Sophie, unaware of the grown-up discussion, noticed the gift shop. Could we take a look, please? As they strolled through the shop, Sophie scrutinized each stuffed animal with a thoughtful gaze, weighing her options carefully. At last, she selected a tiny penguin, cradling it tightly. She proclaimed for our family. One for Mama's place, one for Papa's place. Without a moment's pause, Alexander acquired 2 identical penguins. Mariana remained silent. She had come to embrace his kind gestures when they were rooted in love instead of duty. As the night settled in, with Sophie peacefully dreaming alongside Ellie and her new penguin, Mariana and Alexander found themselves on the cozy patio of the duplex. Thank you, she replied with a quiet sincerity. What for? To grasp what Sophie required. For her readiness to prioritize her needs, even at the cost of sacrificing something significant to you. Alexander gave a slight shake of his head. I held on to everything that truly counts. Family transcends legal documents and biological connections. Concerns? He motioned toward the home where Sophie lay in tranquil slumber. Is concerning this, whatever this may be. Mariana nodded, fully grasping the situation. They had forged something extraordinary. A family formed through choice instead of obligation, through love rather than mere duty. It may not have followed the usual path, but it belonged to them and it proved effective. As time went on, their unique family found a flow that felt as effortless as taking a breath. Sophie embarked on her kindergarten journey, beaming as she introduced her parents during the orientation day. Her teacher, initially perplexed by their setup, quickly grew to value the presence of 2 equally engaged parents who consistently attended conferences side by side. Alexander had undergone a transformation as well. The strict CEO, who thrived on board meetings and acquisition deals, was no longer present. He could frequently be spotted on the floor of either home, constructing intricate block cities alongside Sophie, or discovering the names of all her stuffed animals. Papa, you're not quite nailing the voice, Sophie would point out during story time, insisting he practice until every character resonated perfectly. Mariana discovered a deepening sense of ease in their intertwined existence. She felt at ease when Alexander purchased lavish gifts for Sophie or proposed engaging activities. She realized that these actions weren't meant to diminish her importance, but rather his way of contributing his resources for their daughter. One evening, as Sophie unveiled her school art project, she made an announcement that caught them both off guard. Jamie at school claims I'm fortunate, she stated, focused on her coloring. He has to choose between his mom's place and his dad's place, while I have the privilege of having both my parents around all the time. Alexander and Mariana shared a knowing look above her. At times, they had concerns about whether their arrangement could lead to confusion or distress for her, but Sophie's words validated their hopes. She perceived their circumstances as a gift instead of a hardship. Do you know, darling? Mariana whispered, drawing Sophie in tightly. We are the fortunate ones. Feeling incredibly fortunate, Alexander accepted the invitation and stepped into their embrace. As they observed Sophie peacefully slumbering amidst her expanding array of stuffed animals, they contemplated the journey they had taken since that initial uneasy encounter. She is filled with joy, Alexander remarked plainly. That is the only thing of significance. Mariana nodded, recalling the terrified woman she had encountered while discovering a baby in the park. At that moment, she never could have foreseen that what seemed like the greatest threat to her connection with Sophie would ultimately transform into her most powerful ally in ensuring their daughter felt safe and cherished. "We did well," she murmured gently. Indeed, they had. By prioritizing Sophie, by putting aside pride, fear, and societal norms, they forged something truly extraordinary. A family connected not through conventional bonds, but through choice, empathy, and unwavering affection. 3 years had gone by since Alexander put his signature on those custody papers. Sophie, now 8, leaped through life with the assurance of a child who felt the warmth of profound love surrounding her. Her universe had grown beyond their original apprehensions, deepened by the unwavering support of both her parents in ways they had never envisioned. On Sophie's inaugural day of 3rd grade, an extraordinary event unfolded. In the My Family presentation, she stood confidently in front of her classmates, displaying images of her 2 homes, her parents, and the life they built together. "Some people find it strange that my mom and dad have separate homes yet still share dinner," she explained to her classmates. "However, I believe it is flawless. I receive double the affection, double the embraces, and an abundance of bedtime tales." The instructor later remarked that it was the most sophisticated presentation she had ever witnessed from a child of 8. That evening, at their customary family dinner in Mariana's duplex, Sophie astonished them once more. "Am I able to enroll in dance classes?" she inquired, spinning gracefully between mouthfuls of pasta. "Jamie's sister practices ballet." Naturally, both parents responded at the same time, followed by a shared laugh. These instances of harmonious parenting had become frequent. "We'll have to align our schedules," Mariana began. "I can manage the pickups on Tuesday," Alexander concluded. Sophie radiated joy, a smudge of sauce adorning her chin. Observe, flawless. Once Sophie had settled in for the night, Mariana and Alexander found themselves on the patio, enjoying their customary evening coffee together. The evening air turned crisp, and Alexander quietly placed his jacket over Mariana's shoulders, a familiar gesture that had become second nature to them. "Have you ever envisioned this?" Mariana inquired, her gaze fixed on the stars as they began to emerge. "On that evening when you arrived at my doorstep," Alexander simply shook his head. "In that moment, fear consumed me. Fear of losing her, fear of making a mistake. Yet you imparted a valuable lesson to me." "What is that?" "Love transcends ownership. It's about fostering an environment where all can flourish." He grinned. "Sophie imparted that lesson to me as well." Mariana nodded, fully grasping the situation. Their journey transformed the concept of family, transcending conventional frameworks and societal norms, founded instead on trust, respect, and a steadfast dedication to their daughter's joy. Within the room, the soft light of Sophie's nightlight illuminated the space, a symbol of the unique home they had built together, unorthodox, surprising, yet undeniably perfect in its own distinct manner. The tale of Sophie, Mariana, and Alexander reveals that genuine love surpasses societal norms and conventional family dynamics. Their struggles, sacrifices, and choices reveal that the true essence of family is found in unwavering love, shared respect, and a dedication to one another's happiness. If this message resonated with you as deeply as it did with me, please give it a like, share it with someone meaningful, and share your thoughts on this captivating story in the comments below. As we delve into the realm of narratives and personal journeys, I'm eager to discover the country from which you're tuning in to this video. Every culture offers a unique lens through which to view family and relationships, and exploring these diverse perspectives on this narrative would be truly fascinating. Be sure to subscribe to the channel for more content that encourages us to ponder love, family, and the connections that bring us together. Enable notifications to ensure you stay updated with the latest tales.